Those of you who might have dealt in or dabbled into airband radio, this is the Signal Communication Corps R535. This was a very high-end AM, VHF and UHF airband radio from the 90s, very expensive in its day. And I can remember lusting out of one in one of the magazines I had. Here's the actual magazine that you might be familiar with, sold in a lot of the sort of amateur radio bookshops. Maplin used to sell it. Tandy did their own example, and here it is in here. And I used to lust after this radio because it had that sort of classic sort of I suppose militarized look to it, and it's supposed to have excellent performance. And you can see here the performances. If you freeze this page, you can see the performance and the details on it here. Next to it is the Sony Air7, which I've also got, as you've probably seen in other videos. But I bought this one on eBay because I have looked at them, not in a serious mind of buying them, because they still sort of fetch £150–200, and you don't see an awful lot of them. But this one came up as a non-working unit, and I sort of watched it and made a bid towards the end of the auction, and I actually ended up winning it, which was a bit of a surprise because I thought it was going to go for still quite a lot of money, but I got it for a reasonable price. Now the nice thing about it is the seller who was selling it explained exactly what happened to it and why it didn't work, and so he was genuine, and I know what to expect, and hopefully this should be fairly straightforward to fix. Now we'll just look around through it and just have a quick look at it. It's in nice condition, as you can see. It's designed to mount in on a rack, sort of like a mount inside a car. So it's got one of those sort of 90-degree brackets that bolt on the top that isn't supplied with it, but that's easy enough to make. And as you can see on there, it's you've got selections for direct entrant. You can search up and down. Basically, entering frequencies is very easy. You just scroll along to the digit you want, and then you move the digit up and down, and then you just enter it, and it's very straightforward. The mode button, I think it does the scanning feature for either scan or memory select, memory search, that sort of thing. Pretty straightforward, as you can see. It's got an antenna jack on the front, and it's got an antenna jack at the back. It's got a Pt1 on the back, and just a normal BNC on the front. Squelch control, volume, and on-off switch. So what it's been sold, and as I say, it's been sold as spares or repair. So I thought, well, it's another project to get into. For those who are waiting for the Roberts R500 to be completed, there's been a bit of a setback with the circuit board, and I'm going to take this old circuit board out of a scrap unit I've got and rebuild the red unit. Let's put it this way: I had a bit of a disagreement with the circuit board when I wasn't feeling particularly well, and I must admit, a bit embarrassed. I lost my temper with it, and well, let's say the board is no more. Luckily, the rest of the radio is okay, and I don't really like admitting things like that, but I will admit to it because I used to be much worse than that. But I did actually, in this time, I did actually lose my temper and stupidly threw it across the workshop. Anyway, getting back to this radio, you can see on the back there's the PL259. We've got a switch on the back here for, I think, what is that? Does it say what it does? It doesn't actually say what that's doing. Oh, well, backlight. The switch in the centre of the ball, and the back plate there is the backlight switch. We've got a DIN 5-pin jack, not to be used for plugging a microphone. That plugs into the RS232 UART, which allows you to remotely access it through a PC. We've got our 12-volt supply here, as you can see, and that switch at the back selects either the front antenna or the rear antenna. And on the top here, there is an adjustment for something here. I'm not entirely sure what that is. That might be, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what that is. We'll have to look in the manual for that. It was a tone control or something like that. Smallish speaker on the front, and there's a hole in the top to mount a whip aerial in, so that's quite nice. So you can actually have it standing on a desk, and then use it as like a desktop radio if you don't want to mount it in your car. So I've taken the screws off the top, well actually the bottom, to have a look in to see what's gone wrong. Now what happened apparently with this radio, when he was mounting it into his car and he put the screws into the side here, and what he didn't do is have the right length of screws, and sure enough he's wound the screws into the circuit board, shorting something out, and it's blown the radio. Now I haven't powered it up. I'm going to power it up down the workshop later on, but what I do know is it all powers up and the CPU's working. We got you know, the display comes up, but it looks like it just searches and searches and doesn't find anything. So what I've done is we popped the top off. Let's just pop the top off quickly. Ta-da! That's the top taken off, and as you can see inside, it's beautifully laid out. The way the RF section and the IF section's all been sort of sectioned off with screen stuff, screened shields along here, really nicely laid out. Also all through whole technology, sort of 70s design. They are using sort of quite small components, but it's still sort of fairly sort of basic technology here, as you can see. It's got some batteries I've just took out of them. These are two 1.5 volt batteries, more than likely just for memory retention, but that's not a problem. I'll get those replaced. I might actually put a couple of super caps in there. If that's a charging socket, I might see if I can fit a couple of super caps in there to do that. Now, so we've had a quick look through to see if I can work out what's possibly caused the problem, or what he's touched when he's screwed the screw in. Now you can see this side where the screw comes through, this hole here. Let me just put these tweezers through. You can see that will come through and basically touch that IF can. So you get to that IF can and you think, well, that's tightened up already, what's wrong with that? And there's no sign of any damage on the side of the IF can. You can see it looks pretty good there, doesn't it? No damage or chipping around there, so that's good. So let's have a look at the other side, and if you look on the other side, we get it in the light correctly. Just turn it around so we get it in the light. There we go. Now this is where we're coming through here. Put the screwdriver, the tweezers through so you can see. There. And you see what it hits? It hits that transistor there. And if you magnify that transistor, half of that transistor isn't on the transistor anymore. And you can see it's gone through there, shorted that transistor out, and obviously, hopefully just taken that transistor out. So that hopefully should be a fairly straightforward fix. If we can find what that transistor is, we can replace that and hopefully get it up and running again. So let's have a quick look on the circuit. This is the manual I downloaded on the internet, and then we'll just scroll through here and we'll try and find that transistor on the layout of the board. So where are we? So here's our board. So we're looking at this as the orientation as it is now. So here's this chip here under this ribbon cable is this IC2 here. So we're looking at a transistor down just below. We've got a crystal oscillator here. The light's not very good, is it? Let's try and zoom you in so you can see a bit better. We've got this the crystal here, we've got a transistor, and then the busted transistor here. So let's just have a look on the circuit. So there's Y2, there's our crystal. This is the one that's okay, and that's the one that's got the screw through it. Now, it's not a particularly clear schematic, but let's just see if we can see what it is. I've got another circuit diagram up here, actually, a proper PDF, so it'll be easy to work with. Let's just scroll down and find it. So we're looking at it, looks like, if that's Q29 just here, yeah, I think that's Q29 just there, so that must be Q28, I would think. So just zoom in a bit. No, it's not particularly, it didn't look like it was very clear when it was actually written. 26, that's 28 there. So that's 28 below the chip. So this is 28. That must be 29. Or is that 38? And you've got 26 here, you've got 24 here, but that looks like 29 as well. So is that 30? Maybe that's 30, Q30. And it looks like it's close to R98. So let's have a look on the schematic here. So let's find that resistor first, And I don't think that is the right resistor, but we'll have a look for R98 and see what that's attached to. So let's go to the circuit and zoom out a bit. So we're looking for R98. Where are we? 40, 50. There's 50s, all 50 numbers. There's another board somewhere with the IF stuff in it, I think. Where are we? Is it here? This is the second part of the board. R98. 86. 87. 91. Come on. 99. 98. Well, there's this transistor here. Okay. So if that's, I reckon it might have damaged Q30. So it could be, it's in the right area. So it's damaged one of these transistors here. Now it looks like this is possibly the phase lock loop. Looking at the circuit. And that looks like if it's one of these transistors here, if it's this FET, and this FET's been damaged, it looks like this FET is acting as a switch to turn this transistor on. What's that doing? It's going up to this 8.5 volt plus 8.5 volt and pulling this point down low. So that looks like it possibly might be a muting circuit of some description. So the thing to do is get this transistor confirmed as what it is. If it's we should be able to work out if it's a JFET or a bipolar. Get this transistor out, get it checked. I might be able to ask someone on the internet if they can confirm that transistor number. I don't think there's anything written on the board I can see. Oh, is there? No, there isn't. There's no silk screen on the board that will tell you the transistor identification. So we'll get this transistor changed. We'll get it out at least. Work out where it goes to, which components it goes to. Then we can ascertain which transistor it actually is on the schematic for sure. We'll change the transistor. But first of all, let's get the transistor out and see how it goes.